Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about episode 6 of Tower of God. I kind of had a brain fart there. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So obviously, we're picking up in the aftermath of continuing to pick up in the aftermath of the Crown game. Rachel is there with Baum, and for her, she doesn't want Baum to know that she's who she is, because she's like, if he knows the truth about me, then we're going to be a burden to each other. We're going to be each other's weakness. But Kun immediately goes, for him, it's just frustrating because he's like, he knows how much Baum's been doing everything for her. It's like, she even said it herself, like, right, I abandoned him and he begged me not to go. And I did anyway, and I left him. And it's like, Kun's immediately like, it's best for who? It's not best for Baum. It's best for you. And for him, and when Baum doesn't wait, he makes sure to do everything he can to dance around it before he answers it by being like, yeah, that girl you're saying you were asking for Rachel, it's not her. It's she claims not. He lied without lying too much, because he was like, didn't outright say, no, she's not Rachel. He just said she claimed not to know anything about you. So kind of putting it more on her that she's the one that's lying more so than him. But he knows that she's Rachel because she gave the name and everything. So, but he's putting more of the lies on her. But I think it is sweet because Kun's like, I'm going to protect my friend. The fact is that I've been through the pain of being, like someone you care about, you being used against you, doing something that caused you so much hurt and pain. It created a complex in him. It warped who he is as a person, and he doesn't want that to happen because, once again, Baum is this shining bright light of like innocence to a certain extent. He's not as like jaded as Kun is. And so he wants to protect that. And even Rock, pretending like, oh, no, I wasn't checking on a black turtle. I don't care. It's fine. And Kun being like, shut up and get in here, But, it is this thing of that, like I said, it's sweet that, Kun will go above and beyond. He's even saying, I will lie as many times as it takes, to protect those eyes, to protect that innocence of Baum, so he never ever has to feel the way Kun does after the whole Maria situation. Obviously you have Anak trying to get Black March to work. And once again, and I'm going to say this a lot, it's a new recording session because that was all done yesterday at the time of me recording this. So this is a new batch of episodes I'm going to be watching and reviewing. But I don't remember Black March being so talkative in the manhwa. Like, maybe it's just I legitimately don't remember. I don't even remember her bringing it to Shibitsu, because it's like, right, it only likes handsome men, and he tries to use it, and it immediately shocks him. So now things are difficult, because it only responded once out of need from Baum. The second time it just reacted on its own, being like, you know what, I'm going to calm you down. Just go to sleep. You've kind of been reunited with the person you're looking for. So, but I think it's a combination of, I think we got answers to why I think she is trying to collect all of them. I guess they're supposed to be sort of like trophies, or at the very least, knowing that she has Black March must mean that Yuri will eventually find her, and maybe that's kind of what she's kind of hoping for. Because at the same time, we get introduced to the other princess I've been alluding to, Indrosi, which once again, it's that weird translation thing, because I know in some version of the manhwa I was reading years ago, Rachel's name, because I think I thought it was specifically a Japanese thing, but maybe it's just an Asian like translation thing in general, is that L's and R's kind of get a tendency to get like flipped around. So like her name was like, I remember reading it as Rachel for a while, and then it was like, nah, it's Rachel. So that's why I'm like, I don't know if that's what, because I could have sworn like, and once again, it could just easily be I'm misremembering, but I thought Androsi's name was like an A instead of an E. But, once again, it's been a while, so I could be, because I think even Kun's name was spelled differently from what I remember. But, once again, maybe those are kind of like more unofficial translations I had read or something like that, like early unofficial translations and not like full-blown, whatever the case may be. So she kind of like gets around everybody else because she sees like, and that's the beauty of it, and I think that's the most amazing thing. Without even trying, Baum's already attracted so many people because so many people want to be around him. Like, not unintentionally, while also intentionally, because like Shibitsu, it's like as a scout, he has to make 9 friends, and Hots is making it super difficult. He's like, you're the reason why no one's helping us. He's like, I'm never going to make it through this, because he's calling out, Hots is calling out Kun for his like ugly earrings. He's like, ugly? I don't want to hear that coming from you. I didn't remember that whole back and forth between them. Even the whole point that she beats, is like, oh, thank you, Bomb and earrings. And he's like, I'll kill you. But obviously, it's something I had alluded to in a previous episode. Obviously, like, Lauro is our first example of, like, you know, a wave controller. We get the different ones. It's the different positionings. We get Fisherman, which apparently Yuri is, like, the top tier, like, one of the people. Like, that's why she was granted... I think she's the way Andraste was putting it, it's like, she's, like, one of the only princesses that actually got a rewarded one just for being such a top-ranked fisherman. They being the close-rank people. There's is it spear throwers? Or, I think it's spear throwers. They're those who kind of keep it long-range and use their spears. There's your light bearers, then you have your scouts, and then you have your wave controllers, which Bomb falls into that category. I don't know whether that was Leroux helping him out, or I mean, I think it's just because naturally Bomb fits in that category. But it's interesting because I really like how the show, like, I mean, and well, the manga in general, like, really showcase that, like, really distinguishes those different positions, because, you know, this isn't really a spoiler, but Leroux was talking about it, like, it is kind of an important factor of, like, teaming up is an important factor going on, and you see that as the series progresses, like, the different positions play a heavy, pivotal role in battles going forward. Like, everyone plays their role in what they do and what they're able to accomplish, so that is, like, them setting that up is a very important thing, and, you know, what kind of effects it's going to have on, like, basically combat and battles going forward, because everything is going to be a lot more team-based. I mean, obviously, we got hints of it, you know, with the crown battle and everything, but we're going to see a lot more. And I think this is one of those series where, like, obviously battles get super tactical, and even more so as things kind of progress. Changing the tides of battle and stuff like that. It's very Naruto-esque in that regard, where, like, in Naruto there is a lot of tactics of battle, like, not just with characters like Shikamaru, but just in general, like, a lot of the ninja fighting is very tactical, like, how you're going to, like, proceed during a battle is very much like that in that regard. Not saying, like, Naruto's the only one that does that, but I guess the one that kind of comes to my mind immediately when I think of, like, tactical fighting. But, so this series kind of falls in that same vein. This episode also does, like, correct something I'd mentioned earlier, because I had a feeling, like, I had said it at the time, I think none of the princesses were, like, King Jihad's daughters at all. I kept thinking, like, maybe Yuri might be a blood one, but it's like, no, none of them are. They're all taken from, like, capable families and brought into the fold. So yeah, like, none of them are... but then, like, we dive more into, like, why Andraste refers to a knock as an imposter. We got more understanding of that. But before we really even get into that, I really like the whole, contracts they have to form, and Bomb forms his, but the administrator's like, for you, this isn't a contract, it's a shackle. Because, and I wonder, I don't remember, I feel like it is, but, and I need to stop doing that, because I'm going to be doing that a lot too, but, that whole I don't remember thing. But, I think that was, if that's like a Han Sung Yu thing, because Bomb can run rampant. Like, his Shinsu, like, his whole deal with it can run rampant, and, you know, we don't want him to be the monster he could be as an irregular, so they have to kind of rein that in. So, him in particular is like, oh, everyone else has to make, a contract just so they can use Shinsu. Apparently, Lauro did it in his sleep, but everyone else has to make their contract. In Bomb's case, it's like he's severely shackling himself, because by making a contract, he's making it so he can't go, there's a limit to what he can do. He's limiting himself, unbeknownst to himself, but he's just thinking, like, right, this is how things work, so I have to do that. Once again, rules don't kind of apply to you. But then there's a whole situation with, like, Ho being like, oh yeah, like, you know, we gotta be friends to, like, the weak, and then Lauro is like, weak, huh? And it turns out, like, that is something interesting. They are setting up the whole, like, Ho being severely jealous of Bomb, because Bomb can come off so meek and weak to a lot of people, but everyone did see his powers. That's why even Laura was like, weak, really? Because he's like, probably because even Laura was like, considering what he was able to do the other day, like, yeah, like he's in a completely different league and you're looking down upon him as weak, but that's because Ho was trying to like hide his own weakness. And, even later on when Bomb like is doing the, mastering a little bit of the Shinsu, you can see him nearby. He hasn't quite gotten the hang of like making just an orb, and he's just looking. That goes places if I remember correctly. Jealousy that's something that can run really deep in the when it comes to like climbing this tower. They also introduced the concept that, like, none of the princesses can take a lover or anything like that. But even Shibisu's like, nah, I'm just trying to be friends and stuff like that. Bomb, once again, just being being who he is, even though he's looking at Black March and Nox like, I'm not going to give it back. He's like, no. Like, we made a deal. He's like, I'm just going to have to apologize to Yuri. I'm not really sure she'll forgive me, though. But, like, he's not trying to back out of it because he's like, right, I accepted the deal. I have to accept the consequences. So, because I think he's also going a little bit by what Rachel said of, like, don't go and break your promise or word to a girl. And that applies to not do it. Like, right, like, we made a deal, like, me fighting you. It's like, no, like, I lost. Regardless of anything, I lost our deal, so. But Rachel, we get a little peek into her mind where it's like, for her, like, she's avoiding Bomb, and in her mind, she sees Bomb surrounded by, like, outlines of all these people, everyone that's there, and it's like, right, I went here to get the stars, and now it's like, Bomb, who didn't want to leave my side, now it's like, oh, I abandoned him, and at the end of the day, I'm kind of the one alone. He's the one that's kind of surrounded by everyone, and now it's like, I'm losing him, And the irony behind that is, like, you kind of inadvertently abandoned him, and now that, like, you're here, you don't have his, like, once again, like, without even Bomb trying, so many people gathered around him. It's like, it's like, oh, the light that he is, it attracts so many people. Once again, turns someone as cynical and pessimistic as Kun to the point that, like, when Bomb was like, come on, Shibisu, let's be friends. No, come on, Kun, let's be friends with Shibisu. And he was just like, fine, all right. Like, he kind of gives in when it comes to Bomb. It's like, well, fine, if you want to. Sure, Bomb, all right, fine, So, I also love Rock. He left that whole thing of, like, it's like, I'm going to go return to the wild because he failed, like, that, the giant that's with Andrasi and Rachel ended up destroying. I feel like maybe this will pop up next episode. I feel like I remember that being a bigger thing than what they showed it. They only showed, like, the one-off of, like, him throwing it. But maybe that's something they cut from the anime. But I think I remember them both, like, constantly doing it, and Rock constantly, like, rocketing. I think it was, like, a thing of them rapidly throwing them. Like I said, that might be a next episode thing. But I feel like, because it feels like that was something that might have gotten cut. Like, we'll find out in the next episode if it's there or not. But I think I remember it being a lot more like toe and toe, because Kun does say, like, oh, he passed. So that makes me think that that's not going to happen, because that feels like that might have been something that got cut. Like, seeing Rock, like, throw it and kind of celebrating it feels like that's all we're getting of that, if that is the case. Other avenues is the battle between Andrasi and Anak, along with other, like, fishermen. He's like, you're only able to do needles. That is interesting that, like, they have mentioned the name Needles, but they've never really gone too much into those. Like, it's just kind of like, it's a basic weapon in this universe. You've seen it, like, this ain't the first episode. Like, it's popped up since the beginning. Like, one of the people that's there training to be a fisherman, like, he's had a needle for a long time. Like, we've always seen it. It's just always been a background thing that they never focus on, because it is just like a basic weapon. It's nothing too special. But Andrasi, like, antagonizing Anak. To be fair, Anak came, like, knocking at her door. And it's like saying, like, oh, you're an imposter. You're saying that I'm an imposter. We're all imposters. I guess, and I think it makes sense from her perspective, because it's like, right, like, we're all, like, princesses and whatnot. No, we're all adopted. We were never, like, true princesses of Jihad. Like, we are all just, like, imposter princesses, like, imposters playing the role of princess. But obviously Kun's looking a little bit more into Rachel. Bomb, it's like obviously hinting to, like, right, there's not a lot of information about them. They're not from the tower, of course. But he looks up stuff about Anak and finds out, like, wait, she's a ranker and she came back down and she's trying to climb it again. What's up with that? But it also is like, right, she died. So we find out about her backstory, why she's so into like trying to crush Andraste, and it's because she blames them all for her mother's death. Apparently, her mother fell in love with just a chef, and he was killed, and then she was murdered by all of her sisters, other fellow princesses, which I don't think Andraste had anything to do with that, or Yuri. That might have been other princesses. I feel like there's definitely the way they've set it up to definitely hint to it being more, but I don't know. A lot of these backstories I don't remember, especially hers, but that's why I'm like, is her name even actually Anak, or did she just take her mom's name? And obviously Andraste refers to her as like her niece, because that's her sister's daughter and everything. So, but that's why Anak is like, she is trying to find every princess and get her revenge, kill every one of them, even though not all of them were responsible for what happened to her mom. But that's also like why I was saying, like, I think that's why she got the Black March as well, because she's like, she probably knew that, like, well, she's probably knowing going up against any of the other princesses, she's going to need to be armed to the teeth, so she's going to need more than just Green April, she's going to need Black March. But like I said, I don't know if this is the reason. It's not like I remember it, but I'm like, it seems like it could just be an excuse to lure Yuri out. You know, it's like, right, Yuri eventually, which they do, slight spoilers, they do have their confrontation, I remember. But I don't even think it was it wasn't really a confrontation from what I remember. They had their meeting, and it ends, there's some developments that happened there, but I thought it was really interesting, too, how they, like, did the episode, too. I guess this is supposed to, like, kind of represent, like, the end of this arc, because I thought that was so fascinating. Like, this sixth episode, at the end, the credits are playing, like, overlaying on top of, the ending. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting that they would, because I would consider all of this, like, first season, what I would consider, like, but I guess it's, like, it's just an interesting break, to make that distinction, like, to make this, like, kind of like the break in this arc, I guess. I guess maybe that's what it is, not necessarily the end of it and the next. I guess because the season has 13 episodes, so I guess this would be, like, the middle mark. But obviously this is where things kind of shift, so maybe that's kind of their idea of, like, why they kind of at least make it seem like they're kind of, like, capping off, like, the first half of the season like that. But yeah, this episode set up a lot of interesting things, dropped a lot of interesting information. I'm really curious to see where things kind of take us next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till next time we meet, be happy, be safe, love life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.